The Lance, a weapon that has become a meme icon over the last year for Monster Hunter World. It's either seen as a "you shall not pass" meme or an initial D meme. The fact that you can charge or dash with the Lance makes it fun to use. But what if using this initial D meme was your only form of combat? I am ReaverJolt, and today we're gonna find out if it's possible to beat Monster Hunter World by only charging with the Lance. Now before we get started, let's go over the rules for this challenge. The first rule is that you can only use the dash attack on the Lance to deal damage. This means no poking or counterattacking on the Lance. Can't use Palico, poison damage, siege weapons, or slinger to deal damage. The only exceptions are elemental damage, environmental damage, turf wars, and dung pods. The Palico would just be dealing damage by default, so ours will be retiring early. Poison is a form of DOT or damage over time. Things like turf wars and environmental damage are bound to happen. Elemental damage is applied at the exact moment raw damage does. And dung pods do almost no damage to the point where it shouldn't even count for this challenge. No glitches or mods that change damage values. You can only do this solo. And finally, to complete the challenge, you must beat the final boss. Xeno'jiiva to be exact. I also want to mention that I'm playing this on PC and only have this game on PC and only intend to get Iceborne on PC. So while everyone else is playing it now on console, I, like other PC players, am having to wait until next year. So please no spoilers in the comments. With all that out of the way, let's get into the challenge. So to start, we grab our Lance and permanently put our Palico on standby. We start our first quest and immediately have a problem. I forgot that without Mind's Eye, yellow sharpness bounces off of monsters. I only managed to kill 2 Jaggers and forgot that there's even more Jaggers in the cave. There were times I had to block all their attacks and couldn't find an opening. And even when I did, the damage was abysmal. I even almost died because of getting hit after bouncing off of them. But I did find a strategy. I had to use the flashflies in the cave to throw the Jaggers off and charge at multiple targets at once. Although I did have to retreat the cave a couple times when I hit red sharpness. In hindsight, I should have farmed the materials on this quest, leave to upgrade the Lance and come back, but I didn't think of that at the time. After bouncing off the last Jaggers, this quest is done. After getting a much needed upgrade, we try to get Earth Crystals before proceeding, but after going for gathering runs in the first canteen quest 3 times, I looked it up and found out you can't get Earth Crystals until the Wildspire Waste. Well, that's just a waste, isn't it? I then decided to go wet fishing. In case you don't know, the wet fish scales you get from wet fish cut the sharpening time in half, making sharpening faster. These will be very much needed for this run. After that farming session, we go to our next quest to hunt Kestodons. They weren't nearly as bad as the Jaggers from earlier, but that's because we have green sharpness now. After taking them all out, we encounter a Great Jaggers and fight. Great Jaggers was pretty annoying because of his slamming attacks while he's fat. However, I had some opportunity for some still drill, which helped a lot. After taking him down, the quest is done. Next was Kulu Yaku, and this one was just as annoying because this derpy bird raptor likes to hold a rock all the time, making us bounce off of it from time to time. Plus, you can't really still drill this one because the hitbox is so small. But after a bit, the quest is done. Next was Puke, and this one wasn't nearly as annoying apart from being poisoned from time to time. Plus, I cut the tail off, which was pretty cool. Although this hunt took longer because he had more health than the others. But after a while, this one is done. Next was a long escort section that takes place in the Wildspire Waste, in which I took the opportunity to gather Earth Crystals for a needed upgrade. We encounter a Barroth and then retreat to upgrade our Lance. We go back to fight Barroth, and this hunt was pretty annoying as more often than not, you'll be bouncing off his head leaving you wide open for damage. The key to this one is to dodge the head and try to go for the hands as they're his weak point. This one took longer than some of the others because... oh no. Yeah, my game crashed after a long time hunting this one. Well, time to endure that all over again. The second time around went a lot quicker as I was able to get the pattern down on Barroth. Plus he lost a turf war with Diablos, which gave me an opening to chase him and do damage at the same time. Barroth goes down, checking off this quest. We continue our quest and hunt Juratotus. This one was super easy as his whole hitbox is low to the ground at all times, making it very easy to still drill. Next was Tobi Kadachi, and I was a little concerned at first, but this hunt wasn't that bad. His moves that normally hit pretty hard are very easy to dodge while charging with the Lance. Just be sure to bring nullberries and hit the tail and head areas and you'll be good to go. Next was Anjanath. The key with this one is to break the legs as fast as possible to make them weak points while also learning his attack patterns. A turf war with Rathalos helped tremendously with this one. After capturing Anjanath, this quest is complete. Now we fight Zorah Magdaros. This one was easy but also tricky because we can't really use any other form of damage besides our charge attack. So what I did here was try to use a binder to lock him in place, and when I went to attack I was actually doing damage to his beard. I continued doing this until he got up and broke the barrier. And as for the magma cores, the first one you come across you can't really still drill. You have to drill around it a bunch of times until it dies. All the other cores you can still drill. I managed to get some Dragonite ore that I need for the next upgrade. And as for Nergigante, I know you can just skip him, but I had to test the waters to see what I'd be dealing with later. He actually killed me before the cutscene triggered. That almost never happens. We get our upgrade, and while we don't need to hunt Rathian, I needed to complete the quest for the harvest box to get upgraded. As for Rathian herself, she was a little annoying. The tackles she does are unpredictable as always, but once you knock her down with flash pods, you can still drill your way to victory. I even cut off her tail. Next was Zitzi-Yaku, and this one can be frustrating if you're not patient. Unfortunately for me, I was pretty impatient here and got mollywopped. Be sure to take advantage of the trap floor area as you can get some good damage off. The worst part of this quest was I didn't exactly need to hunt it, but I needed his materials for some delivery quests anyway. After the struggle, we take it down. Next I did a bunch of fishing to stock up on much needed wetfish scales and sushi fish scales. This was a good way to calm my nerves from the frustration I had with Zitzi-Yaku. After getting a bunch of fish scales, our next target is Paolumu. Once again, I was impatient and died twice as a result. The key with this one is to use flash pods and get some still drills and try to hit the neck when it's puffed up. Unfortunately for me, I ended up missing my flash pods, resulting in this hunt going much longer, but after yet another struggle, we capture it. Next is Radabon, and this one was starting to concern me as his bone armor was hard enough for my lance to bounce off of it. But as long as you attack the head and tail and block his rolling attacks, this one is quite easy. Next was Legiana, and this one isn't too bad as long as you're careful. Bring nullberries and flash pots and you'll be good to go. After getting our next lance upgrade, our next target is Odogaron, and for some reason the veil got really dark. This one actually turned out easier than expected because his whole body is a large weak point. Bring some jerky or great sushi fish scales and you'll be good. After that, we get the Vitality Mantle. We'll definitely need this for the challenge. Next is our boy Rathalos. He's both hard and easy if that makes sense. Just be sure to bring flash pods and be careful when he's enraged and you'll be good. Next is Diablos. This one is harder to deal with as the horns and club tail are hard enough to bounce off of. I was hit a bunch of times and fainted due to a bit of impatience. The key here is to aim for the chest as that's where he'll take the most damage. After a bit of gained patience, this one is done. Next is the final quest for low rank, Zorah Magdaros. This one started to concern me a little because of the amount of damage Zorah has to take in order for the cutscene to trigger. Taking out the magma cores was all good and I didn't even need to fight Nergigante. The main issue I was running into was the final phase of this quest. Since I can't use siege weapons, I knew this one was going to be stressful. My first attempt was an absolute failure because I didn't even use the Dragonator until way late, when I was really stressed. I was starting to wonder if this was not possible to do. I figured it was my armor set and weapon that needed to change. I changed my lance to the Baroth lance and got a mixed set of low rank gear with some skills to optimize the run for this quest. I had to do a lot of grinding to get this, by the way. I was thinking about trying for Kieran's helmet that had Marathon Runner, but fighting Kieran was literally impossible as bouncing off of it was guaranteed. So I gave Zorah another shot, and this time I destroyed the course faster. During the final phase, I found a little trick that I thought would be a game changer. I would jump on Zorah's arms when he hit the barrier and charge off and do damage to his chest, which was a weak point. I was even trying to stay in the middle of the barrier so he wouldn't destroy the ballistas I needed to bind him. And every time I did bind him, I needed to go back and forth between the end of the barrier and back to the boat to get more binders. I would even jump off the barrier into the water as a shortcut. And I even used the Dragonator 4 times. All of this still didn't work. No matter how optimal my runs were, I still failed the quest because I couldn't use any of the cannons and ballistas to do damage. I was screen sharing this with my brother for moral support. I had a chat with him about this, and after looking at the amount of health Zorah has, which is 12,000, there was no way this was possible. It was a sad day to find that out. But instead of just stopping here, I really wanted to find out how far I would go if it hadn't been for this quest. So my brother came in and helped me cheat past it. There probably won't be cheating past this point. Puke is up, and for our first high rank monster, he wasn't very hard. Bring some herbal medicine and you'll be good. Since we're here at high rank, we should probably start with an armor set that's easy to get. Yeah, I'm just gonna go straight for Rathalos. After farming Rathalos for a bit, we go for Anjanath in the Wildspar Waste. As I was hunting it, Baroth kept interfering and rammed into Anjanath while he was jumping. That was clutch. The next thing that happened was just jaw-dropping. Just watch. That was incredible. Diablos just made a statement. He was practically saying, "You just got buried, bro." Oddly enough, there was a turf war that was going on as I tripped Anjanath. Best hunt ever. After that amazing experience, this quest is done. Next was Pink Rathian, and this one was a tough cookie. There are some parts you bounce off of and it can get pretty annoying. I got stunned and fainted from the bounces. Second time around went smoother than I expected. Basically, you have to avoid hitting the chest and the base of the tail. After a bit, this one is complete. My next target was a monster I spent a lot of off-camera time farming, and that's Azur Rathalos. He was surprisingly not that much harder than Rathalos. You just have to make sure not to hit his back. Be very careful when he's airborne as he tends to spam his fireballs in rage mode. Next, I had to farm a Rathalos Ruby. I kid you not, I was hunting maybe 10 Rathalos and still didn't get it. It's because I was doing expeditions. So I literally had to follow Rathalos around and collect his tracks to get some investigations. This took 3 hours to do. But after getting the investigation and hunting 2 more Rathalos, I finally got it and crafted the final piece of armor we needed. We now have the armor set for the rest of the game. I did a bunch of fishing off camera as well as prepare for my next obstacle. But first, I needed to hunt a monster that would give me the items needed for the armor and power charms. And that's Basil Goose. Hunting him wasn't too terribly hard, but the problem was the bombs he would drop. I had to block those in addition to getting off some still drills. Devil Joe interfered and even cornered me and killed me. Lovely. After a few minutes, Basil Goose is captured. With the Basil Talons, I now have the armor and power talons. So now my next thing I needed to obtain was the Grief Lance. This is arguably the strongest lance in the base game, and we'll need to obtain it to finish the game. So you know what we're hunting next. Devil Joe. Apart from the handler being a pain to detach from Devil Joe's back, this wasn't too bad. His legs being weak points made this super easy, and even when he was enraged, knocking him down was an opener for damage. The only downside is you can't really still drill this one. He did kill me eventually though, but after a surprisingly fun hunt, Devil Joe is captured. We now have obtained the Grief Lance. Since we can't upgrade it yet, we'll have to take on our first Elder Dragon, Nergigante. This hunt was actually going well now that I have Mind's Eye with this set. However, I did fail the quest when I came so close to beating him. I had to be careful not to block some of his attacks. They sometimes one-shot you even if you are blocking. At the same time though, I'm able to block that pesky dive bomb no problem. After a second try, we managed to get him down. Not gonna lie though, this one was stressful. I did some off-camera investigation farming and got super lucky with this find. Farming Devil Joe for that ruby will be no problem. After getting the stuff from Joe, our next target is Kushala Daora. This one wasn't the worst, but it was definitely frustrating. I failed when I was close to beating it. The problem lies in the fact that blocking the wind blast is inconsistent. Sometimes you can block it and other times you can't. Combine that with the fact that even with Elder Seal, the wind veil was still a pain to deal with. After a second go at Kushala, this quest is done. Our next target is Teostra. This one was actually quite easy as Teostra has moves like the Supernova that you can easily dodge with the lance. Plus you can easily get some still drills on it. Just be careful with Blast Fly and fire damage and you should be good. Next is Valhazak, and I'll be honest, I was concerned going into this one, but it actually was surprisingly easy. His large hitbox was easy to take advantage of for some still drills, plus the Elder Seal paid off a bunch here. Just be sure to have nullberries and great sushi fish scales at all times and you should be good. I was able to get the last Elder Dragon blood I needed for the final upgrade for the Grief Lance into the Fiendish Tower. This is my final set going into the final boss battle. Mind's Eye is the most important skill here. Second from that is Marathon Runner. With this set, nothing can stop me now. So now we come to the final battle. The one thing standing between me and completing this challenge, Xeno'jiiva. Let me tell you, this fight was very difficult for this challenge. I can't block his breath attacks, and most of his laser attacks I can't Superman dive from. The key here is to attack his hands, as they are easiest to get to. Attacking his hind legs is only necessary if he's brightened up. During the second phase of this fight, I had to be careful as the fight seemed to drag on and I was running out of potions. I did cut the tail off, which was epic, but when I was very close to beating him, I was taking fire damage and was trampled and failed the quest. I wasn't willing to give up. I've come too far to give up now. So I went back in and dealt more damage this time. This was getting more intense as the fight dragged on. I managed to cut the tail off again. He did a slam that nearly wiped me out and I couldn't move for a second. I was able to Superman dive to survive his second slam. I was able to block a breath attack, charge at him one last time, This was the most intense battle I've had with Xeno'jiiva yet. I kid you not, I almost shed a tear after winning that battle. So now it's time to answer the question. Is it possible to beat Monster Hunter World by only charging with the lance? Unfortunately, with the rules I've set, no, it's not. The Zorah Magdaros siege quest was the thing that ended the possibility. But I wasn't going to stop there. I wanted to see how far I would get, and I'm glad I did. I beat the game in 54 in-game hours. Not that speedrunning matters here. However, after all of the off-camera grinding I had to do, and even had to take breaks, this took almost a week. I'll tell you guys, this challenge, though frustrating, was actually a lot of fun. It allowed me to play Monster Hunter World in a totally different way than what I'm used to. Would I recommend this challenge to any average player? No. But if you happen to have the guts to take this challenge like I did, I would love to know about it. Best way to let me know is to message me on Twitter. Now I'll say this was with the base game. If you guys want me to do the same challenge for Iceborne, this video would have to hit a like goal of something crazy, like 10,000 likes. Anyway, if you would like to see more like this, consider liking the video, and consider subscribing and hitting the bell as I make Monster Hunter content every week. Be kind to one another, and have a most wonderful day.